Hello, everybody. My name is Marlo Jones. I am the founder and president of Pasco Young Revolutionaries. You can always find us at Pasco Young Revolutionaries on Facebook. Please like and share our page. What our page is about and what our group is about is activism, voting, and re education. Building a better future for tomorrow for all African Americans and people of color in Pasco County. We want to see our young children flourish in this environment that we are living in. Please be a part of the change you wish to see in your community. Keep fighting, the dream shall never die, and Black Lives Matter. So we got some other guests signing in. That's awesome.
Yes.
I have been waiting to talk to my activist friends, Maya and Caitlin.
Right. Yes. So Maya's ready. Maya, you can unmute your phone. Let us know if you can hear us.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey. All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out on my end too.
Okay, it's all right. We all learning some new technological things today.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So Caitlin, since you got
Okay.
yours up and running, you want to
Yeah.
go ahead?
All right. So thank you very much for having me here. Maya, can you hear me, Maya? You should unmute, right?
Yeah, Maya, you're still. It looks like you're still muted.
Yeah.
You guys hear
That's
me?
Yes, we can
yeah.
hear you now.
Okay. I'm like, I think that I'm okay.
Yeah, you're good.
You are live on Pasco Young Revolutionaries.
Awesome. Okay. Cause on my end I can't see you guys, so I guess that's the way this looks on Zoom. I can just see Caitlin.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I was listening to Candace talking about the story with her son, and I just was gonna go ahead and kind of give my comments on it
Yes.
because I have a son that's 10 years old, and he's getting ready, obviously, to go into those exciting years of every child's, adulthood life.
Right.
And I think that I probably will have similar conversations with him about those fears that he's having and the fears that I'm having as a mother. And like, not to tell my family's situation, but I have a nephew that recently encountered the police. He was technically trespassing, and it was a terrifying experience for all of us because none of us really had anticipated having to deal with cops in that capacity with any of our children yet. So it was like a huge experience for all of us and a wake-up call for my nephew as well, because he's been able to grow up fairly privileged, and as well as my son. Like, we live in a almost gated community. We've done our best to try and keep them out of like project environments and give them the best of everything that we can give them. Mm-hmm. But then you turn around and there's still nothing you can do to really stop that encounter with the police. And then, even further, there's nothing you can do to stop how a police officer views your child, even though you know that the child, when you have I'm 5'10", 250 pounds. My son's probably going to be 5'10", 200 pounds. Yeah. So when you have that facing you as a police officer, they look like a grown man to you, and you're not going to treat them with the kid gloves that I would hope and want my son to be treated with. Exactly. So I think his fears are totally legitimate, and as a mother, I sympathize with you, and definitely am not looking forward to those tough conversations.
Yeah, well, you're certainly right. You want to respond to her on that one, Candace?
I was actually, I'm so sorry.
Mhm.
I'm just seeing these comments that people were putting in here, but unfortunately, as a parent, we don't think about these things. Even as a black woman, raising black boys.
I'm having a really hard time hearing Candace if
Oh,
she's saying anything.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying, as mothers, I don't think we give that a thought. We're thinking of other things. Yeah. But as a black mom, in this climate, when my son says he wants to go outside, I'm worried for a lot of reasons. I'm worried that he's going to get injured. Yeah. I'm worried that, a car may hit him. He may get in an accident. But I also have that worry of, is he going to have any interactions with the police? How is he going to respond? Is he going to be scared?
Have you properly prepared him? Because I've been telling myself lately, I don't think I've properly prepared my children to interact with the police, because in my mind, they're still so young. It could never happen.
Right.
And so that's the conversation I think that I've been like gearing myself up for. Yours are a little bit older, so I'm sure you've had those conversations. My oldest is 10, so I'm fearing in that I might not properly make them aware.
Yeah,
How would you advise mothers to make their sons aware? That's a good question for you, I feel like.
well, I mean, I have a 18-year-old, I have a soon to be 16-year-old, and I have a 4-year-old. So it's very different in here, their viewpoints of the police. When I talked to them probably a week ago and was asking them about their feelings about the police, my oldest two, they're like, they don't like the police. They feel nervous about interacting with them. My middle son, he's autistic. His words was, I don't like them. That's it. But my youngest son, he's 4, and he's like, the police are good. They're there to help us. They go get the criminals, take them to jail. They have just some different perspectives, but somewhere along 4, and I would say about 10, their viewpoint starts to change. Yeah. My son, yeah. I don't really talk to them like that about the police, but for him to have that mentality that if I get behind the wheel, I'm in danger, yeah, of having an interaction with the police that could take my life. And so therefore, yeah, I don't even want to drive. It is a lot speaking to our kids. So if we don't tell them something and explain it, they'll get their own interpretations. They will. So we just have to talk to them on whatever level and let them know the best things to do in case they have to interact with them, which is, no sudden movements, just comply with whatever they're saying at their time, but also be aware of what your rights are. Yeah. And call me right as soon as possible. So do you have any?
It's a sad time. I don't know if you all have seen that video that is surfacing around on social media where the little kid is playing basketball and he sees the cop car and he runs behind the cop car. Like, doesn't that just kind of just break your heart that this kid, the cops are supposed to protect us and supposed to be our saviors. This kid is not doing anything wrong. He's just playing basketball, but he still felt in his soul that he needed to do that. The fear, and if that doesn't make you seriously think about the community and how police are policing the communities, I don't know what does. I really don't.
Yeah, so
I hear you.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
So, Caitlin, do you want to weigh in on this conversation?
You still there?
Can you hear us, Caitlin?
Sorry, I can hear you. I can't hear Candace.
Oh, okay. I guess it's because I got that deep voice. They cannot hear you.
I guess, yeah. I can hear you perfect.
Do you want to weigh in on what we were just talking about, Caitlin? Any experiences or anything like that you can?
Yeah. You know what? I think as a white person, a lot of white people don't even realize that you guys have had the talk, and for us, I think it's in a place of privilege. People don't realize that. They don't realize my parents never had to sit me down and tell me that, if you get pulled over, no sudden movements, keep your hand on the wheel. I was never make sure you tell them before you reach for something so they don't think you're grabbing a gun. I never had to have that conversation, and it's sad to hear. And I think a lot of white people don't realize that's reality for a lot of Americans. A
lot of black people.
It's really sad.
It is. It's a lot for. It's something that people of color have to think about all the time, having to be aware of it.
Can you hear me? I can't hear anybody.
Oh,
I can hear you, Caitlin. I can't hear Candace. I can see the screen switching to her when she starts talking. But I
don't even understand. But anyway, go ahead and respond.
But yeah, you're certainly right, Caitlin, about what you said. I mean, one of my best friends, Anthony's white, and I used to live with Anthony my junior and senior year when I graduated from Mitchell High School. I had the privilege of living with well-off white folks, and they treated me just like their son. They loved me. They treated me no different than they treated their own kids. But I remember a long time ago, my acting agent said to me, Marlo, that's what makes your life so rich, is that you were born in the ghetto in the bottom, but you've seen so many facets and so many different views of life, that you're able to make these decisions, you're able to talk to people about the experiences. You know, I've lived in Longleaf and Trinity in the nice house with people who are well off, and I've lived in West Pasco with people who are not well off, who are, you know, depending on the government for assistance, who are still stuck in that economic, deprivation that a lot of people on the West Side live in. So, you know, it's interesting when you get to see life in different facets, for sure.
Very true. I have a little tidbit to add on that aspect of having the different views, just because I was having this conversation with my brother, and we're mixed race. My mom is white, my dad is African American, and my whole life I wasn't like into activism. I kind of just had my personal opinions on issues, which is always a very strong opinion if for those who know me, and I don't really hesitate to voice that. It wasn't really, I would say, until this last year of really seeing my oldest son turn into a man and kind of see like that he could be Trayvon Martin, that he could be, any one of these kids that is wrongly accused, is no longer cute, is walking through our neighborhood looking mischievous or whatever. It was those things that woke me up to realizing like, wow, this is not their fight. This is not somebody else's fight. This is my fight. This is something that I need to do something about and become more vocal about. But then being raised in a primarily white environment, I felt like I feel sometimes even that I don't have the right to speak on certain things, or I don't have, I see her over here in the corner raising her hand. I'm not sure. I can't unmute yourself. So go tap the button in the front. I think you got to unmute yourself.
I know. I was letting finish.
Okay. Go ahead, because I'll get off on a tangent.
No, I'm just listening because like we all have our different viewpoints on how we go about raising our children based on our lives and how we are raised and how we live. You know what I'm saying? And I heard you talk about earlier that you haven't even touched the surface with communicating some of this information to your children or your child. And I have literally, first and foremost, I am an Africana Studies mom. That was my major, Africana Studies. So I've literally been engulfing my son in African history since he got here, just so he can have an understanding of who he is as a man, first and foremost. And then secondly, so he can have an understanding of how America views him as a black man. So it's just like, and it's not for him. And I always tell him, it's not for you to be angry. I don't want you to be angry. I just want you to be knowledgeable. I just want you to have an understanding of how to maneuver through this life of yours, So I've been spoon feeding him information since he was little. And to the point now where he has some information and his teachers get upset when he corrects information in classes. And you can't be mad at that. You know what I'm saying?
That's the truth.
You can't be. So I was just listening and I just wanted to say that really quick, but I'm gonna mute again.
Are they teaching him about Mansa Musa?
Am I teaching?
No, I'm saying, absolutely. I know you're teaching them, I said, but in school, when they're getting upset, I said, it's probably because of that, huh?
Not at all. It's funny because I'm a teacher as well. And I've sat in classrooms and got lesson plans even for the month of February. And none of the lesson plans had anything about African history in it at all.
Right.
So it leaves it up to the parents to kind of teach your children just African history. I'm not saying from the moment of slavery. I'm just saying African history so that they can know who exactly they are. You know what I'm saying? Before the enslavement of Africans came about, and it kind of builds a strength within them, to know who they are and where they came from. And I literally, my son, Candace said he was 23, but my baby's only 16, which he still don't want to drive.
I'm sorry. Who is 23 that we was talking about?
He still don't want to drive for the same reason, So it's just amazing how, how we have to spoon feed our children just to live a life that they say we're free to live,
right?
But we're really not free to live.
Yeah,
you're telling the truth on that. I do want to remind everybody when the Thomas Jefferson and the founding fathers, drafted the Declaration of Independence, they did not have the African Americans in mind at all. So when a lot of people talk about the Declaration of Independence and July 4th, I mean, I want everybody to go that's listening to us live right now, go and look up the Frederick Douglass speech that he gave to a congregation when they were asking him to speak about America's centennial of its birth. It was a 50-year or 60-year anniversary. But he just said, "I dare you ask me to speak when my people are still in chains." It was a very famous speech, but I encourage everybody to go and check it out because a lot of people say, "Well, you guys got rights and you got the Declaration of Independence." If we had those rights, we wouldn't have to go back in 1965. We wouldn't have to go back in 68 to beg for our government to protect us and give us voting rights and these types of things. So once again, that's why I'm glad that you're saying that you're teaching your son this because growing up in Florida, I did not learn anything about Black history. We learned a little bit, but most of it came because my father was he loved history and he always tried to drill into us about our African roots and kings and queens. Like you would have never thought that Africa and Egypt's in Africa, but we weren't taught that.
Right.
We were never taught that the first human beings that came on this planet were the oldest bones were discovered in Africa. We don't talk about the cradle of life being Africa. So it comes to re-education. I think we got to definitely make sure that the school boards are teaching that African curriculum.
That is something we can propose, and I feel like this whole experience is showing me my power, the powers that I have, the powers
I'm from
that
Illinois,
you
even,
know.
which is considered a progressive state, and even the amount of Black history we learned was it was just very even just whitewashed. It wasn't even a lot of it's just not even truth.
You from the state of Lincoln?
Mhm.
All right, that's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Awesome. So
yeah, even up there, you would figure,
read some comments and then
considering that it is more progressive, and like you said, Land of Lincoln, but what they actually teach is not anything like that. What actually happened, it's they try and make it seem way less tragic than it actually was.
They make it seem like the Europeans sailed from England on the Mayflower, landed on Plymouth Rock, and broke bread with the Indians, and everybody had some pina coladas and had a great time.
Right.
When we all know, according to actual accounts, that
was
Christopher Columbus never actually made it to America. He made it.
And he wasn't even the first.
He wasn't even the first. I mean, what, Ponce de Leon in 1300, St. Augustine? I mean, and if we really want to get technical, the Vikings, they were traveling way before that.
Very true.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Candace.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, I thank every last one of you all for coming on. Did you all have any final comments? Y'all still can't hear me?
Okay, I got something I would like to say. I would like for Kateland and Maya to go ahead and talk to us and just give us a little brief description on what you're doing and that wonderful new group that you guys have created, the Newport Richie group, and what you're doing as allies in the Black community.
Yeah. Well, do you want to go first, Maya? Do you want me to go first?
I think she wants you to go first.
Yes, I want you to go first.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so my name is Kateland, and I guess I founded the Newport Richie group where we've been doing a lot of organizing for the Black Lives Matter movement, trying to shed some light into Pasco County, some much needed light. One of the biggest things that I hear from a lot of the lighter complected citizens of Pasco is like, why do you care? It's not even about you. Like, as a white person, why do I care? It's not even about me. Things like that. And at the end of the day, racism is a white issue. We created it. Our ancestors created it. They're the ones that caused the problem. So at the end of the day, it is up to us as white people to fix it. Black people didn't ask for racism, obviously. It's definitely, so when people just tell me that, like, why do you care? It's, it doesn't even affect you. Like, my people are the ones that caused it, whether or not they actually owned slaves, or if they, were just silent and let it happen, or if they,
Mm-hmm.
just
Benefited.
um, bystanders who watched and didn't stand up and fight it. At the end of the day, we're responsible. At the end of the day, we need to stand up if we want to solve that. So, um, the really big thing right now that we can do to show our solidarity as white allies is to show up to protests. That's like the biggest thing. It's as easy as just going there with a sign. And if you can't make it there because we are in the middle of a pandemic, you can always just be really active either online and make sure that you call out racism anytime you see it. That's the biggest thing. It's just if you see it, you got to say something. Silence is complicity. If you see it, say something, period. At the end of the day, say something, please. Don't just let, because we all know in Pasco County, we know, we've seen it a million times over, and we can't just let people think that it's okay to say these things. It's not okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
not okay. And they have to be reminded. They need to be reminded. So another thing too is if you see a black person, who's been stopped by the cops, you can just stop and just watch, record it, just make sure they know that they're being watched and that you're paying attention. Um, as far as actually going to protests, the biggest thing really is you want to listen as a white person attending these protests. You want to listen more than you speak. That's the biggest thing. We're here to learn. We're here to gain knowledge so we can educate other white people so they know this is, the
Mm-hmm.
reality. Because once you actually learn, knowledge is power. And once you learn these things, you can unlearn it eventually. And you can unlearn um, any of the in, any of the systemic racism that has been taught to you throughout your whole life. Because as a white person, I know for a fact that you have been taught racism throughout your life. Because I was taught racism throughout my life. We all are. And knowledge is how you correct that. That's the only way over it. Um, so don't talk if there's speakers there, you got to be quiet, let them talk, don't talk over them. For the most part, you want to we're trying to follow black leadership. We're not, it's
Mm-hmm.
not our movement. We are here to help amplify it. So as far as like leading chants, for the most part, you want to follow the black organizers or the black activists example. If they, eventually we're all going to get tired, and that at that point, leading chants is great. You just want to make sure that you're just not talking over people, and you're just being appropriate. Sorry,
Indeed.
that's my phone.
That's all right. Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Yes, yes, that
Yes,
was a
no
lot of good
problem. Oh,
information.
again.
That's okay. You're famous.
Okay.
She's famous.
Yes.
Go ahead, Maya. You're on, Maya.
Okay, sorry, I had to go to the car because I was waiting at the park for you guys.
Oh.
So, um, I personally am not as organized as Caitlin here. This is my first show here. Um, but I guess the things like I was saying earlier was my kids kind of have turned me into an activist, and I don't really have experience in being one. I've noticed that because we are in Pasco County, I don't know if you guys kind of touched on numbers, but I did do a little bit of research on that and was seeing that it's like 87% white and 6% black and 2% mixed race, and mainly, the other percentage I think was 15% Hispanic or of, a Puerto Rican type of background. And for me, what really like woke me up was like, wow, there's only 2% of me out here. Like, there's only 2% of other people like me in this area. Like, that blew my mind. I mean, like, I'm not from Pasco County. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I moved here a couple years ago. Where I'm from is called the melting pot. Like, but racism is still very prevalent. And I guess what hindered me for a long time, because like obviously we all know this Black Lives Movement has been going on for a long time. I've had a child for 10 years, a black son for 10 years. And like, I don't know what recently really got to my soul other than seeing that 10-year-old little boy changing into a man and realizing that the rest of the world will not always see him the way that I see him, as this innocent, beautiful little boy with no imperfections. And I think that the one thing, like, I'm noticing throughout the group is that everyone kind of has their own reason for being there. And the thing that I kind of focus on is that we all just need to agree on the one thing that we do need to agree on is that we are all anti-racist, that we are all going to fight for equality, that we are all going to want that one thing the same. I know that Caitlin feels stronger about defunding the police than I do. However, I 100% understand where she's coming from. But I also fear a world without any type of police interaction in it. I think a lot of people do. We don't know what that kind of world looks like. So I think that, as I guess I even hesitate to call myself an activist, because I don't know what comes with that term. I don't know what expectations come with that. But I know that I want to be able to look back on the remainder of my life and know that I spent it protecting my children to the fullest of my ability and making sure that they could have a future that doesn't look like this. You know what I mean? I don't know what it necessarily looks like, but it won't look like this.
You're right about that.
Yep.
You're right about that. And just to piggyback off of you, that's what actually inspired me to get into it. Is that I have four daughters, and they are biracial, Hispanic and African American, and they are the ones who made me get off my couch and say I have to fight for change, because my daughters are going to grow up, and they're going to grow up fast, and they're going to grow up in the world that seems to be evolving by the minute. And that we have to prepare them as our parents prepared us and their grandparents prepared them, so they can survive in this world. And as African Americans, we have to work twice as hard at everything in life. And even when it comes to raising our children and teaching them the right ways to go about life and be a decent human being, and to be careful and to be safe, So good conversations, very good conversations.
We have to have more of these. We got to talk about defunding the police and
yes.
other options that people in other parts of the U.S. are bringing up. In some parts of the country, that is a big discussion, and people are coming up with some very creative ideas on not just defunding the police, but
redirecting those resources.
Right, redirecting them to more like social services and mental health, because a lot of the calls the police get are for those. They're like domestic stuff and social things. And so if we have those people empower them and fund them, they can go out to those calls, and the police can go to more of the calls where they're actually needed. And so I think that's a very good conversation that we definitely should have, as well as others. And we want to invite you ladies to definitely be a part of them. We're trying to get it together to see what we can do to really have these town hall meetings and just have more discussions like this. So thank you ladies so much for being a part of it. How can other Pasco County residents reach out to you all to get to know when you're doing something?
Okay, so if you wanted to reach out to us, you can actually find us on Facebook right now. We have a group. It's just the New Port Richey chat. It's NU with the two dots, the umlauts, Port Richey. And you can just request to be a member and we'll approve you. The group is usually hidden, but we can open it up for new members.
Okay.
And eventually we will actually have like a organization. We're still working on this. It's all just kind of naturally transformed.
Got it. Okay, well, thank you so much, Caitlin. Thank you for everything that you're doing in the community. Keep up the great work.
Having us.
Yes, thank you, Maya, as well, for everything that you're doing in the community. Thank you for being a part of the conversation.
Yes.
Nadia, do you want to leave your contact information? Ladies, I would love for you to be a part of this and share a 1-minute video response to what Nadia is doing. That's something that's going to be a national project for her. So we would love for you all to respond to that. Nadia, what is that information again? if she can hear me. She may not even be able to hear me.
Say that one more time.
Nadia's contact information.
You can
contact information.
I don't know if she could hear me, but I'll make sure to put it in the comment section. But again, thank you, ladies, for joining. We're gonna sign off before Zoom shuts it down because I don't pay the extra money for it, so it's gonna shut off real quick.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
Thank you all for
Have
joining.
A good night.
Yes,
you too.
Thank y'all.
So that was awesome, you guys.
Hello, everybody. My name is Marlo Jones. I am the founder and president of Pasco Young Revolutionaries. You can always find us at Pasco Young Revolutionaries on Facebook. Please like and share our page. What our page is about and what our group is about is activism, voting, and re-education. Building a better future for tomorrow for all African Americans and people of color in Pasco County. We want to see our young children flourish in this environment that we are living in. Please be a part of the change you wish to see in your community. Keep fighting, the dream shall never die, and Black Lives Matter.
Tampa Airport Transportation is committed to providing excellent service to the city of Tampa, surrounding cities and counties, and the state of Florida. To ensure the continued safety and health of our clients, we have developed the following COVID-19 preparedness plan in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Our goal is to help to mitigate the potential for transmission of COVID-19 while still providing the excellent quality transportation services the city of Tampa has seen for the past 10 years. Our COVID-19 preparedness plan follows CDC, federal OSHA, and FEMA recommendations and addresses hygiene and respiratory etiquette, driver controls of social distancing, cleaning, disinfecting, and prompt identification and isolation of sick persons within our employ, communications and training of our drivers. Tampa Airport Transportation believes in the continued safety of our clients and want to ensure you that we will do everything in our power and what's recommended by our government to give you quality and excellent transportation service. Our fleet of transportation vehicles includes town cars, SUVs, small and large vans, small and large buses. We can accommodate social distancing for your groups. Call us today for more information on how you can schedule your transportation services today. Call today, area code 813-464-9083, or go to www.gototia.com.